questions. She's a good interviewer.
All right, now, tell me about the coffee or
Okay,
what about
when I
Grandpa?
was over at Grandpa and Grandma's house, Grandma always served Grandpa a cup of coffee in a saucer.
Hey, Brad, let me shut my door.
And they weren't near this fancy. Grandpa would always take his coffee, and it wasn't usually this full, but he would pour some into his saucer.
That's okay.
I don't want to sit on these nice napkins. He would take his knife and stir it.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, and I don't know how long he would stir it, and then he could pick it up, and he could hold it like this. And he'd drink his coffee
All right.
out of the saucer.
How is it? How's the temperature?
It's cool now.
It cools it off.
It doesn't take long, but he would always drink his coffee out of a saucer.
When he got through with the saucer full, did he pour another cup of, in the,
I bet he did, I don't remember. And Grandma would have peas, green peas. She would always stir them around on her plate, and then she'd eat her peas on her knife.
I never, I've seen them do that, but I don't know how she managed to
I don't know.
balance them.
She could do it. And then she would make the noodles. We saw them making noodles at serving. Grandma would had a piece of wax paper laying on the table in the kitchen. She'd put that pasta on there and take a rolling pin and roll it out. And then I think she would fold it back over and then roll it out again, roll it out a bunch of times. And it had to dry to a certain amount. You'd sprinkle flour on there and then roll it up, real tight roll. And you'd take a knife and slice it, real thin slices, thinner than these that we ate today. And it was in a roll, so they would come out long. These were real short. But she'd sit there and cut those up, and I don't know how many rolls it took to make a big pot of noodles that she'd fix for everybody out there. Grandma always had a big pot full of noodles.
Well, our serving dish was always, that noodle.
And she would fix enough to feed 3 times the amount of food that the people at the table could eat. Well, it must not have been any good. Y'all didn't eat it all.
Now, who are these people you're talking about, Grandma and Grandpa?
My dad's folks, my grandpa and grandma.
And where do they live?
Well, they lived 5 miles east of us,
In Vernon?
in Vernon, yeah.
The way the crow flies.
Yeah. My grandpa was Ernest Shure, E.B. Shure, and Minnie Shure. Her name was Wilhelmina, and everybody called her Minnie. She was a little short lady. Uncle Oscar was the youngest of John Kieschnick's kids. I think Grandma might have been second youngest.
And what did she do with that milk and the cow when they were kids?
Her dad, all the kids had a cup hanging on the fence by the barn where her dad milked the cows. And Grandma used to love to go out there and take her cup off the fence. Her dad would milk the cow and squirt milk in her cup. And she would always talk about how good that fresh, warm milk was. And they would drink it every day. And we found their old K house, the house that her dad built, in the shape of the letter K, Kieschnick.
That was the
Yeah.
best. And remember when they were saying how that wood that they used in that house is made of oak or something, and
Yeah.
he said it's
Real,
gonna be real hard to tear that thing
real
down.
hard oak. I know the barn that Mother and Daddy had at their house, that barn got to leaning. And that's why they tore it down and put that other barn up there. But Daddy said there's no way that barn was gonna fall down. They like to never got the nails out of the wood. It was just leaning a little bit to one side. But there was no way it would ever fall down. It was
I've been
real
out
good.
there in their barn, and I remember when they were killing rats.
Rats.
Yeah, they had, the rats would be, there was a wall, some studs, and then a low wall. fell, I guess it was up pretty high, but anyway. And what was the poison he used to?
Warfarin. Same deal they give people now for blood thinner.
Oh,
And those big rats would run across the,
Same goes as
around,
original.
the room was full of wheat or oats or something.
Brad, you guys leaving first thing in the morning?
I remember planting those wheat and
And,
oats.
and Pawpaw could take like a big serving spoon, take just a dip of that warfarin out of a bag and flip it over and hit those mice. And they would squeak a couple times and die. They couldn't breathe.
Oh,
We'd haul those mice out of there in 5-gallon buckets.
and then here a whole bunch more would come right in behind it.
oh my god. Have you heard about in Australia they're having a huge plague of mice?
No.